Hey guys, it's your girl Allison. Thanks so much for tuning into my video, and if you're new, how are you and where have you been? Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Today we're going to be talking about how to stay safe in the modeling industry. The modeling industry is huge and it's been around for so long, but there's not really any union per se like a lot of other industries have, and there's so many moving parts to the modeling industry. You have makeup artists, you have photographers, different models that you work with, and different agencies, and these are just some tips to help those of you who are models and you are freelancing or you're with an agency and you're just curious about what kind of safety tips you should be watching out for. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let's just get into this video. Number one is to be very careful with who you shoot with. Some photographers, there's a realm of reasons why. Some people will lie and they're not actually photographers. They just will lie to get you to come to their studio. And I've noticed different scenarios popping up in the news lately about photographers like abusing girls, raping girls, and faking that they're photographers. They'll literally have a whole studio and everything to go along with the lie just to get you there and do whatever they want to do. So just be very careful as a woman, especially as a young woman. People try to take a lot of advantage of you. So be very wary if a photographer reaches out to you and you're underage, number one. If you have an agency, or even if you're a freelance model and you're younger, if somebody's reaching out to you, just be careful. Tell your parents, like I said, guide them to your agency. If they're trying to not book you through your agency, either one, they don't want to pay for your time, or two, it's not legit. And just be very careful about that. Always, if it doesn't feel right, sis, it's not. It's nice to get free photos, don't get me wrong. It's really a blessing. The photographers I worked with have been so nice and so talented. So we've each gotten something, and usually in a shoot, especially with like a freelance photographer who doesn't book you through a agency, they're usually wanting to put you in their book in exchange for you to get the pictures. So you always benefit some way, and if you feel like the cost is more than the benefit, not worth it. Just be very careful. Two is going to be that be careful what modeling websites you use to get the jobs. Modeling is a lot different than it was before. Like, it's not a regular job where you see like an application per se. They usually have like open calls at certain agencies and things of that nature. But if you're not signed with an agency, it's a little bit more legwork on your side because you don't have those connections, so you have to build them. And with that said, there's so many different things that models are used for. Promotion for products, commercials, advertisements, not just runway. So be careful about the sites that you use because majority of them do not have background checks on the people who are signing up for that site. So that means like if somebody says that they are an agent, they can just be lying and just be on the site as an agent. Some people are freelance agents, and that's a different scenario. But again, just be careful. People can pretty much say anything. Because again, there's not really a lot of regulations for modeling since modeling is such a huge industry. So yeah, just be careful of that. Three is going to be make sure you keep track of your things. Not even saying that models steal or anything like that. It's just that can happen. But also, a set is so busy, you just don't want to lose track of your things. No one's here to babysit you. No one's here to babysit your things either. So anything could happen. And your stuff is very valuable because it's yours, and you want to make sure you have it after you leave a shoot. The worst thing ever is to realize that you left your favorite pair of shoes at a shoot and you go back and they don't have it. So yeah, just be very organized when you go onto a shoot. Keep track of your things. That's pretty much that. 4 is going to be to always bring flats. I think it's so cheesy that in modeling shows they're always running around in heels all the time. No, girl. If you couldn't have to like park, if you're going to an agency or to some type of casting or job or whatever it may be in a city and you have to park and walk, those city walks get long really quickly. So not having flats can be really crappy if you have to park and walk for miles. So yeah, just be careful with that. Also, heels break, shoes break. There's a lot of complications that can happen when wearing heels. You could twist your ankle. Just make sure you got some flats, girl. You could have to run for your life. Hopefully not, but just make sure you got some flats. 5 is going to be to watch out for fake agencies or fake agents. Some people will say that they're working with an agency and they're not. And if you are ever questioning whether somebody is legit or not, number one, a huge sign is that somebody who works with an agency has the agency email. That means if somebody works at Wilhelmina, they usually have like Jack Nicholson at Wilhelmina in their email address. That's like a huge, that's a huge sign that that's probably a scam, or they're probably trying to scam you. Because I haven't worked with many agencies where the people who work at the agency have not had the agency email. That's 1. 2, you can always call the agency and ask. A lot of people are really nice about that because they know that the modeling industry is so big, you know? Most people are really cool if you call and ask and be like, oh, hey, like I'm just checking the legitimacy of this person. They reached out to me on such and such Instagram or whatever, and you just want to make sure they actually work there. They'll tell you. That's pretty much that on that. I didn't even realize that that was so prevalent in the industry until I got into the industry. I used to have people DM me like all the time about them being agents and things of that nature, and also like people stalking me on the street. And again, sex trafficking is out there. There's a lot of dangers out there. I'm not trying to scare you at all, but these are realities that you have to face and you have to think about in a field like modeling, because again, it's a huge field. Let's see. 6 is don't get sucked into these Instagram brands. Girl, I've gotten some crazy propositions from Instagram brands. A couple have been like, oh, we'll get 20% off of a product I wouldn't buy anyway, and we'll feature you on the page. And it's like, again, if the cost is not weighing out the benefit, or if the cost is weighing out the benefit, you might not want to take that, sis. Also, like, you have to be careful about, again, what you sign whenever in life. Sometimes you do have to sign contracts even for Instagram brands, and they can have you in a contract that is really binding. Some Instagram brands also they have high expectations, I suppose. That's what I want to say. What I mean by that is pretty much some people want you to post like every other day of their, like a picture of their product or whatever it may be, or a video. Sometimes they want you to purchase things from their website multiple times a month, and that can get really costly, especially again, if you're not planning on shopping there anyway. That's just spending money to advertise for them, and you're already advertising for them and they're not paying you, so there's not really a point to doing that. I am an advertising major and I've noticed overwhelmingly that brands are reaching out to influencers, obviously, because it is a lot cheaper than making a commercial and doing other forms of advertising, which is great because that means that, you know, people like you and me can have the opportunity to work with bigger brands. Like, that was something that you couldn't do before. You had to be with an agency or just like a really well-known model. So it is a great opportunity, but some of the agencies are wild, or excuse me, some of these brands on Instagram, they be wildin', sis. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, it's really awesome to get reached out to by a brand that you really love. And sometimes they're just really genuine. They just want to send you something, or they want to give you a discount code, which is great if you already shop with them. But just consider all the options, girl. And also, you can also be sucked into something where you don't like the product, or you don't think the product is worth advertising. I would feel so bad. You know, a lot of my friends and family and just people who really like me follow me on Instagram. So I would feel really badly trying to promote a sunglasses company when their sunglasses are faulty and they're not good. And you know, that also ruins your credibility as a person. So a lot to think about there. Just again, you don't have to advertise for every Instagram brand if you don't want to. You can always say no. It's gonna be okay. 7 is do not let anyone force you to take your clothes off. Again, I'm very fortunate that's never happened to me, but I've heard crazy stories about photographers being really pushy, like demanding girls take off their clothes, trying to finesse girls into thinking that like agencies want that. Most of the time, again, you will know what you're doing at the shoot before the shoot. So if all of a sudden you are supposed to be doing a swimwear suit and they're like, oh, let's get naked, you can say no because you did not sign up to get naked. You signed up, unless you did, or you did the terms and conditions for the job. But most of the time you don't. And if you're coming in for a beauty shoot and they're like, oh, let's just take off your top, like there's so many other ways you can do that now. There's so much technology. You don't have to be naked in a picture anymore. You can pretty much have like nude undergarments and they can edit it out. You can pose a certain way to make it look like you're not wearing a shirt when you are. There's 100 different ways to not be naked on screen. And again, if you are underage, huge red flag, absolutely not. No, you don't have to do that. Most agencies, again, will tell you if they want to go in that direction. And that's just a comfort zone thing. If you're not comfortable with that, you do not have to do that. Honey, photos last forever. And especially with the internet now, they will circulate forever. So if you don't want that, you don't have to. Also, it can potentially tarnish your brand if you're a more reserved model and that is your brand and that's how you are marketing yourself. Doing nude shoots can potentially, again, have your credibility be a little questionable, or just like tarnish your brand if you don't want to do bathing suits and things like that, and you want to do something more like Christian brands or something of that nature, something more reserved. Then doing something where you're butt naked may hinder you from getting other opportunities where you're not butt naked. So, I mean, for example, Playboy, don't get me wrong, if Playboy reached out to me, I might have to take them up on that, but Playboy could reach out to you and you could potentially not be able to like compete in a Miss America pageant. Like there's a lot of stipulations and you can't be Oprah and Beyonce at the same time, so you gotta pick sometimes, you feel me? So yeah, just if you're not comfortable taking off your clothes, maybe you can say no. You don't have to. It's not consensual if you are forced, or if you can't say no, it's not consensual. Remember that. 7, or we're on 8 actually, is read the fine print. You guys, quick story. My mom and I went to this agency when I first had started modeling, and I think I was 18 at the time. I'm 23 now. Yeah, 18, 19, around there. And we went to this agency. I was so excited. It's the first agency that actually wanted to sign me. I was so excited. I was like, yes, like I'm getting somewhere. This is awesome. And as soon as my mom went to the bathroom, they switched out real quick and they tried to get me to like essentially sign a contract without my parents present. And although I was 18, I was still a baby. And I would not have read the fine terms and conditions. And my mom came out of the bathroom with, Audrey was not having that. My mom was not having that. She made sure she read the terms and conditions. And when we got in the car, she told me absolutely not, because they couldn't ensure my safety when they would send me up to jobs, which is pretty insane. That's definitely not standard. Most modeling agencies will not send you to a place or a job where they can't ensure that you will be safe. Obviously, when it comes to like working conditions, for the most part, most people are really good about that because of OSHA and things like that. Again, modeling is kind of like, if you're a freelance model and you're not working with agency, you're taking a risk every time you go on a job in general, but especially if you're by yourself and you're not backed by an agency or something of that nature. Just, again, be careful because they will try to scam you and you don't want to get scammed. We're not in it for scamming. It's not the scamming for me. 9 is that you do not pay to send your photos in. I promise you, I send my photos into Wilhelmina, IMG, and National Models like every week on their website for free. You go to the website, most of them either say get scouted or submit, and you go click on that, you fill out your information, your measurements, all that, put your photos in and send it for free. If they think that you are good for their brand, they will reach out to you via email. I think it's absurd. I had a friend ask me about the legitimacy of one of the websites that are popular for modeling. I can't remember which one it was, but she asked me and I told her I never had used it. I've used a couple of the websites, but most of the time I've had luck just going on different jobs myself, and like without the websites, I've done a lot of local things. And I'm rambling again, but girl, some agencies will ask for like $500 agencies will ask for $500 plus. Some websites will ask for hundreds of dollars for you to send in your pictures. Absolutely not. You do not have to do that. So that is a scam. If they're asking you to pay money up front for something like that, scam. Whereas, don't get it confused, don't get it twisted with like agencies asking you to pay for your comp cards. That's different because, or just paying for comp cards in general. Comp cards are like your business card as a model if you're not quite sure what that is. Essentially it has like some pictures of you at different angles on the front, and on the back it'll have like a headshot and your measurements and your contact information. And you know, those are usually professional photos by professional photographers who either work with your agency or are connected with your agency or whatever of that nature. So those definitely are expensive. They can run you hundreds of dollars, but that's a legit thing. You have to fit a lot of the bill as a model. They don't tell you that on America's Next Top Model because I mean, that's a TV show. But yeah, 10 is gonna be to communicate with other models, make friends. It's really nice to have somebody who's going through the mud with you, especially when you are not with an agency. If you're just freelancing, it's super nice. I have met some great people, some great women at castings, men too, who are my really good friends from modeling. It's just nice to have just somebody to talk to who knows what you're going through in general. So highly recommend having model friends and communicating with them. If somebody has worked with an agency or a photographer or anyone in the modeling industry, a makeup artist that they really like, they're usually not hesitant to tell you that. Whereas, so don't feel awkward if you need to ask a question to even somebody you don't know. If you see a model that you really admire, you can always just DM her or him. I mean, they may not answer, they may answer, you know? You'll never know if you don't try. So with that said, just circling back to my point, communicate with your models. On the flip side, if models have a bad experience, some people are iffy to say something just because of like being blackballed in the industry and stuff like that. But I'm sure that if you reach out to a model and say like, oh, hey, I'm working with this photographer and I see that you work with him or her. Did you enjoy your experience? Like, can you tell me about your experience? What should I expect? Most people are really nice and willing to reach out to you and just talk to you. So yeah, definitely communicate with your fellow model friends. They got your back for the most part. 11 was befriend people in the industry, which is kind of the same thing that ties into 10. It's just nice to know people. I mean, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, apparently, which is interesting. But anyway, again, just not even models, having makeup artists on hand that you like and having photographers on hand that you like in your local area. It's just, or like if you travel somewhere to model, like if I say like I live in Georgia and I travel to LA, it's nice to have people in both places so you can reach out to them if you do need to do your own shoots, or if you do just want to do your own shoots. It's nice to have those connections. 12 is to be careful about what you post on social media. I mean, in general, modeling is a job just like any other job, in a way that your social media is your brand. So if you don't want to do a certain type of modeling and you're posing a certain way and you're like have a certain aura about your Instagram, definitely like tie that into a brand. What is it that you want to do? And just be more organized about it. If you don't want to be photographed in, like I said, swimwear and stuff like that, then don't have that on your Instagram because it's a little confusing. Again, everything wraps up and everything is a brand now. Like, some people hate that, but that's the truth. You are a brand, you are your brand. So, you know, you just don't want to have parties with pictures of you at parties getting drunk and stuff like that, because again, reputation is also everything. And as a model, you just want to be able to look reputable, you want to be looking reliable. You can have a little party photo here and there, but like, you don't want to look like that's all you do. In general, it's just, people can see you on social media, so anyone can see you on social media, even if you're private. So yeah, just be careful about that. Let's see. 12, make sure you double check locations and directions because agencies move all the time. Plans change all the time. I am I've been late before because like I've Googled a location and it wasn't the actual address of the location. It wasn't a huge problem for me, but I just try not to make that a habit. Make sure you double check, sis. Also, if you feel very, again, if you don't know this person, you're shooting with a photographer or you're going to get your makeup done, it's just nice to know that area. If you don't feel comfortable going to that area, at least you know before you start driving and you're like, ooh, this is the hood, you know? Nothing wrong with the hood. Hood people are cool for the most part. But if you're not comfortable with being in that setting, just make sure you double check that location and send your friends your location as well. Because again, we're about to be in the presence of strangers and you never know. Because once you get snatched, you can't get unsnatched and all that. Let's see. And last but not least is 13 is don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. As a model, you advocate for you. You cannot always depend on your agency or whoever else is involved in your team, management team, whatever, to advocate for you the way that you would advocate for you. So if you don't feel comfortable on the shoot, say something, sis. If you're a natural haired model and you're like, for example, I'm black and I go with my natural hair, this is how I look when I go to modeling castings and jobs. So if I feel like somebody's about to burn my hair, I'm gonna say something. I haven't been placed in a situation like that, but your hair is your brand, and if they're gonna tarnish your brand, baby girl, you need to say something. I have known people to be in some crazy situations, like I said at the beginning of this video. Communication is always key. You don't have to don't be rude about it. You can just be nice and be like, hey, I would prefer to do something else. Is there anything else we can do? If obviously it's a job, so you could potentially lose a job by saying something. That's always the case for any job, but you just gotta, again, cost benefit. Is it worth, if you get your hair straightened and they burn it and you have to cut your hair off, you have to now get a new book and you have to have a new look, and that look could not work. There's a whole bunch of thought that goes into that. So obviously, again, see something, say something. If you don't feel comfortable, say something. Also, don't sign up for jobs that you don't actually want to do to a certain extent. Modeling is a super huge hustle, especially if you are not signed. You have to do a lot of the legwork yourself. Even when you are signed, you have to do some legwork yourself. And if, for example, I'm a natural model, I have natural hair, I don't trust just anyone to touch my hair, so I would never do a hair shoot. Most likely, like some hair shows want you to do some stuff like dye your hair and stuff like that, and you just have to be careful. Like I keep saying, be careful. And this video is very long, but if you have been here and you stuck with me the whole time, thanks so much for watching. And I hope that you enjoyed and you will take some of these tips and go on about your modeling career and kill the game. So yeah, thanks so much guys. It's been great. I'll catch you in the next video. Love ya. Bye.